Donald Trump is having a tough week. His former campaign manager and campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, is allegedly going to be indicted. He then threatened genocide against North Korea at what might have been the most internationally embarrassing United Nations speech in history. And he has now praised a country that does not exist. When I heard that Donald Trump would be lunching with African leaders, my ears perked up right away, because that is just ripe for disaster. And of course, by disaster, I mean comedy gold. And it was. Donald Trump praised the great work by the country of Nambia, which is, of course, not a country. Here is Donald Trump.
In Guinea and Nigeria, you fought a horrifying Ebola outbreak. Nambia's health system is increasingly self-sufficient.
And it was not just once, but it was at least twice. Here's Donald Trump again talking about the great country of Nambia.
And I'm greatly honored to host this lunch, to be joined by the leaders of Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Ghana, Guinea, Nambia, Nigeria, Senegal, Uganda, and South Africa.
I guess it's a portmanteau of Zambia and Namibia, right?
And the Gambia, too.
And the Gambia?
Yes.
What's the Gambia?
Another country.
The Gambia.
Yes.
I didn't know it was the. Interesting. Well, of course, Nambia is more self-sufficient now. They're doing huge trade with Lambwanda, which is, of course, a country from referenced in in Mission Impossible. There's a fake white supremacist African country called Lambwanda. Reminds me of the Erdogan incident. Remember when Donald Trump, standing next to Turkish President Erdogan, referred to him as Erdogan?
It is a great pleasure to welcome President Erdogan for his first visit to the White House in years. The American and Turkish peoples have been friends and allies for many, many decades.
The Kabfefi trade in Nambia is amazing. They've got some really nice light roasts, and they're just doing huge business. Beautiful country. Beautiful, beautiful country. Things did not go well in general with various UN delegations. Here's a picture of the Zimbabwean delegation, including Robert Mugabe, appearing to sleep through Donald Trump's speech yesterday or the day before, where he referred to Rocket Man and the total destruction of North Korea. If you're threatening genocide against a country and Mugabe isn't excited enough to stay awake for it, you know something weird is going on. That 2/5 at minimum of the Zimbabwean delegation sleeping through the Donald Trump speech.
Well, I think the gaffe at the luncheon yesterday is actually pretty significant, because I'm sure all those African leaders went into it understanding that Donald Trump doesn't really care.
Yeah.
And that's verified if he doesn't even take the time to learn the pronunciation of the country.
Well, not only that, but it's all fun and games. Nambia, it's all funny. Lambwanda. Donald Trump did say some horrible things at that lunch with the African leaders. And Donald Trump sort of bragged about how his friends are going to Africa to get rich. Here's Donald Trump talking about that. And this really is a serious thing. Take a look at this.
Africa has tremendous business potential. I have so many friends going to your countries trying to get rich. I congratulate you. They're spending a lot of money.
That is just horrible, right? Trump's bragging about the raping and pillaging of the resources of African countries, and he loves it, right? I mean, for centuries, Africa's resources have been exploited by Europeans and Americans, Africa victimized by the slave trade of Europe and the United States. The U.S. has supported dozens of authoritarian and just brutal regimes in Africa, and the making of billions upon billions of dollars from deals with dictatorships and the pillaging of conflict minerals. It's a horrible reality we're in when Donald Trump is sort of saying, it's just, my friends are going to Africa and they're just getting rich. It's so fantastic. Congratulations.
Right, well, at least his buddies are getting rich, though. Silver lining.
Well, that is actually the only connection to a real philosophy of Donald Trump. We can't really learn anything about Donald Trump's philosophy on free trade from what he says. It's just kind of what he heard and an idea he came up with that he thought would do well with voters. His real philosophy, what Trump is really impressed by, is by his friends going to Africa and figuring out a way to use the resources of Africa to enrich themselves. Greed, self-aggrandizement, those are the real philosophies that get Donald Trump excited. And that's a genuine moment. This is, it's so incredible because it's such a great example. Trump genuinely seems like he understands his friends are getting rich in Africa, and he really seems pleased by it. That's the window into the real Trump. thrilled about people getting rich off of others' resources.
And this story made me look into past mispronunciations by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Some of my favorites, 2 Corinthians, which we all know about.
Of course, 2 Corinthians.
Beyonce. And Tanzania, another African country you may not have heard of.
Tanzania, I am familiar with, interestingly enough. The Cobb-Fefi trade has actually destroyed Tanzania, has really hurt Nambia, but in Tanzania it hasn't worked well.